As you know, we are transmitting live, and tonight's our first reattempt to do a call-in show. Which I don't know if we'll have much success with the Saints game going on, and I'm getting a lot of noise. Hopefully, that's going to solve. But the important thing here is that we are making our first effort here. Lenny, do you hear all this? Never mind. Of course, no need to- so we are moving forward. The show will start in less than 4 minutes. You see our countdown clock, 4 minutes and 41 seconds. We're broadcasting live an hour show. It's called Rights Review, which is a subset of our rant review. And we will allow people to call in. The number is going, I got to put it up right after we come on. It'll be the phone number for you to call. As usual, though, you can write any comments that you would like in your social media platform, and we will see that and answer those as possible. So we are, it seems like they're telling us we're having trouble with LinkedIn Live, so I apologize for that, because this was also going to be a first for us in LinkedIn Live. Well, of course, nothing ever goes well. Anyway, the important thing here is that we're excited about this. I have a lovely co-host, which we'll introduce you in a little bit. When we get to the show, we still got about 3 minutes, giving people time to log on. We got a few people already on. Looks like Facebook or is that YouTube? I can't see the little eye. I forget which one that is. But anyway, it keeps growing, so people are coming on. Congratulations! Like I said, we will start exactly on the hour. As soon as our countdown clock goes to zero, you'll see the logo for our show, and then I'll be on, and then we'll introduce our co-host. It's exciting because last year we tried to do a separate call-in show for our tarot reader, and we were always having technical problems. We found several new ways to do it, so we're anxious to get through it tonight. So please, even though most people like to text nowadays, if you have a chance, place a call. Just say hello. You don't have to be worried about it. You won't be shown. Just by like you'd be making a phone call. So watch for the number when it comes up. Call that number. It's a local number, 504, not a 888. I apologize for that. So hopefully everybody has unlimited dialing or data, excuse me, in phone. But we are anxious to get this underway. This will be a weekly series if it works well. We're trying it at night, which is the only other show we did at night was the tarot show, which may be coming back, but not till spring next year. So we want to get this one underway, and there's a couple of others that we've procrastinated with till we know we've got a functioning three-way situation where everybody can hear and see each other than the caller not being able to be shown. Um, anyway, we're down to just was it a little minute and a half, so it's we're excited for you to come back on because, like I say, it's a new field. Don't hesitate, and you will find the topics. Tonight is, as we call it, a meet and greet. So most of it will strictly be the introductory of the host, myself. You don't need any introduction because it's boring. And then just a brief outline of some of the topics that we will always present. It will always be open if you call in or comment about a particular topic or question you have. We will certainly interrupt our discussion and entertain that as soon as possible and try and get you those answers or the discussion that you'd like. Okay, coming down in less than a minute. So get ready and we'll go ahead and wait for it to stop. Got 40 seconds. So stay with us, folks. I see you hanging on. So please stay with us for a while at least. And, put your Saints game on your TV, but turn the mute down. And one, at least you can, or put us on mute, one or the other if you don't want to hear the topic. But we'd love for you to stay with us or come to us if the Saints game, unfortunately, turns out to be not very good, which we're hoping against. So I think it's going to do well. All right, we got less than 15 seconds. So get ready. We'll be back on in a moment with regard to actually starting the show. Okay, welcome. It's our Revue, which of course is our production company. And what we're going to do now is actually, thought we had moved it to the right, but I'm saying there's our show logo. For those who see, that's for the, as you notice, the Ann has a megaphone, meaning it's rant. Doesn't mean they're yelling at you, but it's your chance to call in and our chance to answer back. So we're going to now go to me, ugly old me. There I am. Oh, we got bad lighting there today. Everything seems to be jigs as usual. But anyway, I think we hopefully it's not too bad from having to see this ugly mug. Well, I'm going to be small. Some little lighting problem where I've got some, looks like somebody's done some graffiti on my left or right side. Anyway, the important thing, this is Rights Review, which is a subset of Rant Review. All of our shows that are call-in shows, unless it's already got another name, will be under that umbrella of Rant Review. And Rights Review is just that. We're going to be appraising you with my co-host. You'll meet a local attorney in a moment, of different rights that you have that we all should have, and in different topics. And we're going to let him come on in a moment, and he'll going to tell us after he's going to give us hopefully some background about himself, so you can get to know him, and then his forte, his specialities, which we put in the promo, but obviously we want you to be aware of such. And then I can throw in some things from my career that also might give you some information. So meanwhile, let's stop all by meaningless chatter and let's bring on. We want to welcome. Here he is, Derek Russ. Good evening, Derek.
Good evening, Bob. How are you doing this afternoon, this evening?
Well, like I said, I had a little difficulty here with typical when you got to do all the work. It's not when you don't have those big studios that do everything for you. So, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're nice enough to stay at your office tonight, so we could do the show, and I appreciate that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the audience about yourself, so we'll get to know you.
Well, first of all, good evening to everyone. My name is Derek Russ, and I've been an attorney in the city of New Orleans for about 15 years now. My specialty is mostly in the area of bankruptcy practice. I do Chapter 7s, 11s, and 13s. And it was a pleasure meeting you, Bob. And I think this is a great idea to apprise people of their rights that they have with respect to saving their home or car in difficult financial situations.
Yeah, I agree totally. And there've been a couple of other shows I've heard on the radio, morning shows and stuff that have done some sad parts. They don't last. I mean, ours might not last either. I don't mean in that regard, but the more education that can come out of that, especially in the current circumstances with regard to potentially inflation and so many people unemployed, even though there's supposedly millions of jobs out. So bankruptcy is all, maybe it might not have been in the forefront as a general topic, but today it's much more prevalent, I would imagine. I certainly assume so.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. We have people under tremendous financial pressure. I'm talking about trying to find ways to pay for your mortgage or rent, your car note, insurance, put food on the table for your family. It's just a lot of pressure. And I'm hoping over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, we can apprise people that may be suffering with this financial pressure. We can apprise them of their rights on how they can potentially save a home, a car, or just get from under this financial stress.
Exactly, exactly. So that's well said, and that's exactly what we did. What I see, I just forgot to do, and I'm going to correct that right now. There we go, folks. So as we said, we're not expecting too many callers today because of the Saints game, but and also being the first show. But we certainly would. That number's going to stay the same. Hopefully, it's not going to be a problem to you financially, but hopefully you'll call because we don't want to create a financial problem by increasing that phone bill. But at the same time, anytime during the show, please call that number and we will recognize you. Again, you will not come visibly on the air, you will just be your voice. And as I said earlier, if you prefer just to put a comment on whichever one of the platforms, we're broadcasting on 3 Facebook platforms. Well, LinkedIn Live may be going in and out. We're not sure on that. We're on the standard YouTube, and we're also on Twitter Live. Months ago, excuse me, we were on Periscope, but Twitter reclaimed it and they went back to live. And we're also, hopefully, I see it that we're on Derek's I believe his Facebook account. So you didn't have to sign in to see us. on our platforms, you can watch him directly. That's one of the new advantages we added to our streaming. So take any of those opportunities to please send us a message or call in, and we would love to entertain you. First of all, just to meet you, just say hello. That's right, and then also to go ahead and let me get the comments. Yeah, all right, we're ready for you. So you can do the comments, and the phone is ready.
So, Bob,
Um,
I know we're
yeah,
going to both of our social media platforms. I'm pretty new to social media, but I have a few followers. So, those who are following me that may have tuned in tonight, I'd like for you
right.
to introduce yourself to some
Uh,
of my people, and then I'll do the same once you finish.
Thank you, thank you. I know they don't want to hear about this old person, even if they don't know me, but. I had an insurance career for 30 years, and I retired from it. So one of the topics we may be talking about, if not tonight, in the future, will be I'll handle it with regard to specifically like health insurance or life insurance, and even some property and casualty, because I have some knowledge, a lot of references on that. But after that, I retired and went into broadcasting, and I was originally on Cox Cable locally in New Orleans. So we really didn't. We had a large in those days. Cox Cable went talking about 2000. And that time, Cox Cable had a huge audience of about 400,000, about half the city, 400,000 people. So we did well. And I was on there for about 15 years doing our standard restaurant programs. We also had artists. At that time, we had 4 or 5 programs. Len, do you hear this? Um, so we had that in winter, but the problem was one, I wanted to do more programs, and the channel wouldn't allow us. And again, our output was only reaching people in the New Orleans area, not even on the North Shore, where we had a lot of restaurants that wanted to be on, and we couldn't do so. So anyway, enough about that. But the important thing, so what happened is in 2015, I resigned from the TV station, and I went to a friend of mine to help him out who had an internet system going in its early stages. He was from a local radio station. I worked there for a couple of years, and then unfortunately, old age set in, and I had some medical things where I could no longer drive, so I had to leave there. And of course, that's right when the pandemic came, so we decided to do our own thing, and hence that's why we have some of these technological problems. Because just me, myself, and a good friend of mine who helps me with doing the broadcast, and of course, the fantastic host. So let's do this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on me right now, even though I do appreciate any of you of Derek's viewers and listeners because that's lovely to enhance our viewership. But you'll see what I know besides that, some interruptions. If they don't know when I do some of my specific topics. But meanwhile, Derek, let's talk first a little bit about. I know you talked on your specialty, but how about telling us a little bit about your personal life, personal self?
Yes, so born and raised in New Orleans, I attended elementary school at Valina C. Jones. I'm not quite sure if you know where that is.
No, I don't.
That's in the 7th Ward. Uh, Left Valina C. Jones and ended up at Fantasy Williams and ultimately at McDonald 35 High School. That's the first, the premier African American institution in the city of New Orleans. Um, we're known as the Ron Eagle. McDonald 35 Ron Eagles. And so after graduating in 1996, I ended up at Dillard University. Uh, my major was physics. I had a physics professor who, after my second year at Dillard, decided that he was going to leave and go to Southern University at New Orleans. So he asked me, would I be interested in going with him? And after thinking about it for a minute, I just decided to go ahead and switch over to Suno. And that was probably one of the better
The
choices
camera's
of
off
my life.
now. Keep going, Derek.
Is that on my end?
No, mine. Keep going. That's what they're enjoying you. That's the important thing.
So ended up going to Suno and started participating in student government and ended up being elected as the SGA president. And my first day in office, I was cleaning out the office to figure out what the heck I got myself into. and I found a picture of my grandmother. And I was absolutely amazed because she had never told me that she finished from Southern University in New Orleans. And so when I saw the picture, I immediately called her and she said, "Yep, that's me." And so I'm a believer that ultimately our paths are directed uh, by God. So I think that was probably a very good decision, ending up going to SUNO following my physics professor, who I'm very close with even to this day. So after leaving SUNO, I went on to Southern University Law Center and got my law degree. And I've been practicing law ever since. So for all of the listeners, this is definitely our inaugural show. So we might have a few technical issues that we're going to iron out.
I don't know what you're saying. You still got people. Oh, they're going down now. Give him a new link. I wonder if they give him a new link. Hello, hello, hello. I sent him a new link. I asked him to click again. Can you hear me, Derek?
All right, I can hear you now.
Okay. We've never had a camera problem on my end, but of course everything has to happen tonight.
Hey,
We
much
still have we
respect for
still have
your profession and what you do.
Oh yeah, we still have a few people hanging on. God bless them. I can't believe they've done that through that mess. So they're going to see the lovely Ann, which is much prettier than me, and I'm hoping that they hear me. If you hear me, Len's going to let me know whether he can hear me through the watching it on a phone. But anyway, we're going to assume I'm going to talk. But let's go back to you. You were telling us. Do you mind rehashing a little bit more about yourself, being a native? And I told you talked about the wonderful schools
Oh yeah,
and I think he went on to Dillard. I think is the last thing I recall before it all went to pot.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
pot. That's
Taught at
enjoyable.
Dillard University in 1996, and I met a
Babe
lovely
in arms.
woman by the name of Dr. Joe Omojala.
Okay.
He's a nuclear physicist, and so I gravitated towards him and ended up studying physics. So about 2 years in at Dillard, he said, "Derek, I'm leaving Suno. I'm sorry, I'm leaving Dillard and going to Suno. And I'd like you to follow me and come with me." And initially, I said, "Nah, Doc, I'm not messing with it." But I decided to go, and I started participating in student government, and ran for SGA president and won. And my first day in office, I just rummaging through a lot of old files and found a picture that had my grandmother in a graduating class, or what I thought appeared to be my grandmother. So I called her, and she said, "Yeah, I finished from Suno in the first class, the first graduating class." So
I don't know what you're telling me
I
to
said,
do.
"Wow, you won't believe this, but I'm I'm an SGA president now. And she said, yeah, well, I was the first female SGA president at Suno and the second overall SGA president. So I was a little bit excited about that. And I was saying earlier that our pets, they, at least my pet, I can speak for myself, has always been directed, and I tend to land where I'm supposed to. So after graduating from SUNO, I ended up at Southern University Law Center and started practicing after graduation.
Excellent, excellent. So, what year was that about? You graduated?
So I finished from SULC in 2004, and I've been practicing ever since.
Okay, I wanted to show you. I don't know if you can see it. I hope you can. We've got a couple of comments. One person telling us, Usi Phillips said we can hear, and I thanked him so much for that. But we have, if you notice, I brought up one on the screen. If you can see it, Deborah Majors asking, saying, "Hey, I need a lawyer." I don't know if she knows you, and it's just another way of saying hello, or whether she's serious about it. But we're
Yeah,
so pleased that she
I
sent
think
a comment.
Deborah Major.
Major, yes, sir.
Two wonderful people. Good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Phillips, and good evening, Miss Major. I hope all
Excellent.
well with you, and I hope you fared out well in the pandemic and the Hurricane Ida.
Well, we appreciate that making. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I look forward to talking with you both.
Okay, so these are some of your great followers, then, huh?
Well, I don't have very many. I may have about three or four. So
Well,
yeah,
we've got. Well, you're
four.
batting 2/3 at 50% already, so that's fantastic. But anyway, so we've learned a little bit about you. Now you're a family person. I don't know if you said that, don't you? If I understand, don't you have a couple of children? Or
Wait, say that again for me.
I said I think you're a family man. Don't you have a couple of children, two or
Oh
three?
yeah, not a couple, man. I have a football team. I have
Oh my goodness,
yeah,
11.
I have a bunch of kids and a wonderful fiance.
Wow, that's good. Now, what are their age range? The youngest to the eldest, about?
So the youngest is my little man. I call him Roro. He's 1 year old, and he tends to run the household.
And how
He,
about the eldest? Can you give us
so,
that, or that
yeah, the oldest is 12, and
12? Oh,
he's
wow.
very intelligent, very intelligent,
Well,
very
and taking after his dad, I guess. I know some of it anyway.
well.
That's the key.
Maybe about 10% of it.
Oh, you're being facetious now. Anyway, so folks, I wanted to show you that he is now. I can't read that. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We're still having trouble with people bringing me up, but like I say, it's not a problem if everyone. I hope when UC said that we can hear, she can hear not only you but also me. That's important, whether they see me or not. But when we're talking together.
I
You
know
know, I
you.
would like.
I know
I'm
you have
sorry.
topics, Bob, that we're going to talk about not tonight, but sometime.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and do that. I'd like you to, because as you mentioned in your monologue there with regard to, or your introduction, not really a monologue, that you obviously your primary forte is bankruptcy, but you also do traffic court work. So let's talk a little bit about both those without giving away all the stuff we're going to talk about on the future, the details. Just give an idea what kind of things can you do for folk, not only educating them like we're doing here on the show, but what type of process can you be involved with them should they decide to follow that route?
Yeah, so there's an old statement that a judge by the name of Judge DeNeal would always say. He would say that all roads lead to traffic court. And that's so true because, I mean, quite often there are a lot of New Orleanians that somehow or another find their way in violation of traffic codes, whether it's speeding or running a stop sign or improper backing or an auto accident. So I mean that statement remains to be true. All roads lead to traffic court. So I guess eventually later on down the line we'll talk about certain rights that drivers have and certain expectations that the city and state have with respect to using these roads in the city of New Orleans. But I've prosecuted in the city attorney's office for probably about 15 years, uh, prosecuting traffic and DWI offenses.
I was hoping you'd jump into bankruptcy outline first, but that's okay. Your desires, that's fine. So let me just ask this: when would obviously, if someone is going to, let's say, gets a ticket and then they want to pay it as opposed to contest it, of course, they just go to the traffic court and get in line, or have them pull the thing and pay the amount. But like if they wanted to contest the ticket, whether it's moving or a static violation, that's when someone like, I mean, they could theoretically do it themselves in court, right? After they get a signed date. But that's when someone like yourself is really going to be able to help, hopefully. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, because I work for the city, I don't represent defendants
Ah,
themselves in the building, but I always try to help people that come through because many times it may be their first time, or it could be, their second or third time around the block. But I've always had the belief that, we've got to try to help people to get through their tough times. So,
oh, okay.
forward to having conversations about uh, certain rights that people have when they come into
Yeah.
court.
So
And
you're doing like basic consult work, consultation with them and advice with regard to going through their process, as opposed to going to court and actually representing them. Is that right? Did
yeah, so
I understand
I
you correctly?
mentioned I prosecuted for 14 years there, and so now I'm working in the court system. It's on a part-time basis, uh, but I will definitely discuss with your viewers and those that tune in what rights they have in terms of
Good.
how they
Well,
can
that's
check their driving record.
yeah, that's to be a tremendous asset because I mean, unless it's their first time and it's just a parking ticket or a very minor violation, anything beyond that has got to be, first of all, a little bit frightening, especially if you've never been in the court and you have to go, and just the idea, well, what do I have to do? What can I get? So that's going to be a big benefit. But now if we can flip and go to bankruptcy, if you can tell me there, well, again, there's all kind of questions that we're going to develop. We already have that we're ready to address, whether people ask them or not. And then, of course, getting to specifics if someone has a particular problem with any of those topics or subtopics on the calendar. But tell us a little about just an overview of the bankruptcy situation with regard to what is the process if someone is worried that they need to go because for whatever their financial reasons that they just feel they want to explore or get information. Some of that, like I said, we're going to be giving details week to week. Just give them an overview. For the first time someone has a thought that maybe I need to go try bankruptcy. So I know you mentioned there are three types, and we'll go over those numbers 7, 11, and 13 on a specific show. We'll spell them out so they'll know exactly which one, if they feel is appropriate, is the one that they would apply for. But what would be the process after, let's say, they contacted you, as opposed to just going into their date without any knowledge at all? What kind of process can you work that through in a short period of time?
Yeah, so before we talk about the process, and this is even with consultation with people, I tell them that uh, there's first of all no reason to be embarrassed about even having a conversation about the possibility of having to file bankruptcy, because no person, no matter how well off you are, or I mean, no matter who you are, no one is immune from a financial situation uh, that puts a lot of burden or pressure on the family, a household. So I tell them, there's no need to be embarrassed. We've got a lot of high-profile people that have filed chapter 11, 13, and even sevens. So I just try to assure people that big businesses, they do it all the time, but to make sure that their coffers are filled, they sort of put this scarlet letter over the bankruptcy process.
Right.
But businesses do it all the time. And so, I mean, if it's required and necessary for your family survival or your survival, and that's an option for you, you should do it. And so that's the conversation that I always have before we get into the process. Uh,
Right.
so just a lot of people are embarrassed about it, and there's no reason.
Sure. Well, I know in my parents' years, which they were depression, people, because they grew up in the Great Depression. So something like that, first of all, was very little known, but also it was almost equate to the fear of the Lord. I mean, it was that kind of fear that would be instilled with you, how responsible you had to be, that you can never let yourself get to that point, especially being a man. I mean, I had a sister too. I don't know if she had the same stories, but we were. It was constantly drilled. Responsibility. You stay within your means. Don't let this happen. So, and even though, no matter how good you are about that, circumstances, like I said, whether it's a hurricane,
Yeah,
your company could go under, or you could be fired, and even though you have some temporary relief, it might not be anywhere near what you need to maintain your status quo.
right.
So these are the kind of things that are so unforeseen. There's one thing with keeping up with your regular bills and all, which is so rudimentary or required, but there are still so many unforeseen circumstances
Right.
that could jeopardize at least your financial situation, if not even beyond that. Another example is medical bills. Even with insurance, we know today that the medicals are unaffordable, and that could put so many people that just want to live and survive, that they have to choose something like this as an alternative, as an aid in getting to survive, not necessarily to be a rich person, but just to get through.
That's right.
So that's why I think it's so relevant. And I'm hoping people will avail themselves. Now, again, folks, as you know, this has been awkward for you all, and I apologize to Derek's viewers and any of my viewers who stuck with us. I can't believe we're increasing our numbers. So you
Yeah,
see, maybe I don't need to be on here. Maybe it just needs to be your picture, your voice, and my inner voice, and let the ant talk. But anyway,
I'll tell you,
but
I'm
it's
broadcaster, and I'm no news media person. In fact, this is my first time doing something like this. But
well, no one would know that.
I think
You're very comfortable. That's why when we talked and did some of our discussions, I knew you would be good at this, not only from the knowledge base, but the comfort level.
yeah,
And but at the same time, as we said, this is our first show, so we
I'd like to
bless everyone who stuck with us.
go
I'm
back
sorry.
and talk about a statement that you made about your parents growing up in the recession. Biblically speaking, there is in fact the scripture, and we'll talk more about it, and I'll have the actual scripture for you. But those of you that read the Bible, uh, maybe more than I do, there's a scripture that talks about the forgiveness of debt after
Uh
7.
huh.
So again, we deal with unforeseen circumstances, like you mentioned, with medical bills. Sickness can come overnight.
Exactly.
Can go through a divorce. You can go through, as you mentioned, a hurricane. Most recently, the hurricane that we experienced, Hurricane Ida. Um, and with insurance payments and real estate taxes, I mean, we effectively buy a house probably 3 times over after the end of the 30-year mortgage.
Right.
So, and even with insurance, after the high deductible and the legalese, we pretty much end up paying for small repairs that should be covered out of our pocket because of the ridiculousness that the insurance companies deal with in terms of how they treat their insurance. Uh, so and having the file is, as I said, not a negative thing. You've got to do what you've got to do to live a good quality of life. And being under financial pressure and trying to figure out how you're going to pay a credit card bill, keep your house, uh, that's just something that the bankruptcy process can help you see your way through.
Well, I'm glad you elaborated on that because that puts more emphasis. So it just won't be, well, here's another attorney trying to get business, just coming on the show. Folks, for those who don't know me, I've been in this business, like I say, the broadcasting business since 2000, so 21 years. I'm on the TV and now on the internet for 6 years. But in all of my shows, there is never a commercial, unless it's a free commercial I'm giving to the guests. But the whole hour is dedicated to the audience getting, fortunately, the advice and information presented by our guests. So there's no charge. There's no charge to the person, and there's no charge to you all. So you're getting sometimes very accurate. Like when we had the tarot reader on, he has a big following online as well as personally in California, where people are paying, a respectable accommodation for her services. At the same time, she would come on here for an hour, and we would only be able to do two or three, but we would do three either tarot readings, or she was also a medium. She would actually speak to some of her deceased relatives and give them. So it was phenomenal. So these are the kind of services. Not that I'm drawing an analogy, but well, I am doing an analogy, but not saying one's better than another. But that's what my whole purpose is to inform and help the people. I'm not here. I don't get a dime. In fact, it costs me to put these shows on, and even with my faulty equipment. But the key there is we want the people to be able to get information so that they can, whether it's art, and I tell the artists, we're not here to sell your work. It's exposure. If somebody wants to buy it, they show it. When it was on TV, one person paid $10,000 for a piece that we didn't even know was for sale. So at the same time, we're not looking for that. I mean, the guest sometimes certainly appreciates it, but we make no guarantees to that. It's strictly exposure. And you've been so kind. And we haven't even talked about your community service with regard to the charitable way and the ministerial way. And we're going to do that as people get to know you. We don't want to inundate them with too many things. Oh, that's just a lot of BS. They're just building themselves up. We're not trying to do that at all. We're trying to get an audience that will have typical problems or questions of the day. They don't have to be problems. As I say, we're so happy these two individuals just said hello and said they could hear us because of the problems, technical problems we're experiencing. So anything you tell us or give feedback on, we are going to be most appreciative, both Derek and I. And I was saying about just not only the problems technically we've had this evening, but also this is really a test, and also the Saints conflict, which we know was not something you want to go against no matter what media you're in. But it's saying now we're going to try this Thursday night, 7 o'clock, for a while. One, because it's much easier for Derek's schedule. He's got a full schedule during the day. We would love, originally, my idea, the talk shows are during the weekdays, during the day. And we might go to that or occasionally do that. But we want to see what kind of audience is available and interested, obviously, in the evening slots. So, we can pull you away from your normal viewing situation because you could get some help here instead of just entertainment. And hopefully we provide some entertainment as well with something, no scheduled jokes, but certainly just facts of life about ourselves and the experiences that we have. Anyway, go ahead again. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we got about 20 minutes. So I want to take it. What else can you tell us? So we talked about bankruptcy and how important it is right now and always. And we also talked about, as you mentioned, it's so astute to point out the historical religious references. So even way back then, people were having debts of the old to take it out of the religious aspect, but go to Shakespeare, the famous Merchant of Venice. And if someone, I'm not saying everybody has to read that play or see the movie or whatever, but the idea there was that the bill collector, debt collector, whatever you want to call him, but whatever they termed him in those days, would make loans to folk. And in those days, if you didn't pay up, it wasn't, you had the luxury of bankruptcy or someone hearing your judge. One in the particular Merchant of Venice, the merchant had to have the pound of flesh. You may have heard that over the years and never known what it's from. The debt collector cuts out a pound of your stomach or your chest to pay, which may obviously result in death in those days. But that's how serious it was with regard to not paying your debt. So even though, fortunately, we're much more humane society, we don't go to that extreme, but still, just the harassment, the terrible reputation you develop by avoiding and not addressing it, is the worst situation. So you need to take it on, and not by yourself. That's why this gentleman and other gentlemen like here and ladies like that are available, because they're here with their expertise to guide you through the process. Because it's frightening. It's frightening enough to be constantly, you see these commercials all the time where the phone is ringing. Oh, and then finally, well, you call my attorney, stuff like that. But who wants that? We get enough harassment from robocalls every day. I mean, I get 4 sets a day, same robocalls, different order, and I know when they're coming. So I've labeled them all. This is a tip you probably can't do, but I actually create a contact and call that number scam likely. And every time I see that, I don't answer the phone. It goes after 2 rings, it goes to voicemail, and I just delete the voicemail and I keep the number blocked. I change the number to block. So I mean that's when we're going totally off topic. But what I'm saying is, you know, it's not enjoyable. It's not pleasant in your life if you get into a financial situation and you're alone. I mean, everyone feels alone because they don't want people to know about it. So, in today's world, everyone's so conscious of themselves and their persona and their diva or whatever they call themselves. So they don't want to share that information with anyone, even if they are fortunate enough to have a therapist or someone that's counselor. It's just too embarrassing, but you can't leave it unattended. And that's what we want to, we don't want to be like my dad, drill it into you, like that, but we want to constantly have the undermining element of the bankruptcy. Do not be afraid of it, but you can't leave it unaddressed. You can't just out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't work like that in these situations. It might be out of your sight, but you're going to see there's going to be constant bothering by collectors, by emails, by who knows. In the old days, they came to the door. So this is what's important. So we're stressing the importance of recognizing something has to be done and trying to learn how to do it at a comfortable and affordable level so that you don't feel like the general thing, well, attorneys are just out for themselves. And I'm going to draw it to the property and casualty thing. With Katrina, half of my house was lost. And if I would have just listened to the insurance adjuster, they would pay that. You might think this is a lot, $75,000. Well, the value of the damage was over $250,000. Now, here's the deal. I could have gone to an attorney. You see several attorneys are advertising post Ida. Let us help you. We'll go against a big guy. We'll get the check. They may or may not. But what they don't tell you is you're not going to find an attorney that charges less than 30% or 40% or more of whatever the settlement is or the payment out. There was a thing, and they come up occasionally. There's 2 firms right now that are open. The problem is they don't stay open long enough because during the non-catastrophic situation, they don't have any business. And these are independent adjusters. The attorneys do this. They take either retired or people who are on contract to do adjusting. And they will use them to send out as a counteract to whoever your insurance adjuster said, not only to just show them wrong, but to give enough defense that they can actually increase the amount that the insurance. And what I had to do was I had to go to mediation. And mediation it wasn't frightening. It was a judge in a building. But we had so much documentation with our independent adjuster. And remember, independent adjusters are not 30%. They're either 10% or a fixed amount. So I'd much rather pay 10% to I know the person knows what they're doing because these are adjusters as opposed to attorneys just getting information from the adjuster and not paying another 20 or 30%. Right now, there's 2 companies I see advertising post Ida that supposedly are independent adjusters. But most of them are attorneys that employ adjusters and they still want their high fee. Now, I can't help you with that. I can't give you names because that's commercials and I wouldn't do that. But I'm trying to say everything if you do, and most people are so lost because it's like in hurricane, they're so devastated by the loss of their personal property and or familial or friends that they can't think straight. They just think, hey, I got insurance. But they don't know, just like whether it's health insurance and disability, it's Medicare, health insurance, life, property tax. There are all these fine points that you don't see or hear unless you are used to looking for. All you look for is how much you have to pay premium and how much supposedly you're going to get. But you don't realize things like deductibles or like the worst thing since Katrina, hurricane deductibles. The regular deductible says on your plan $250 or maybe $1,000 or $500, but there's an asterisk for the hurricane deductible. When you have a named storm, it doesn't even have to be a hurricane, named storm, it hits you. The deductible rises to a minimum of 2% up to 5% of the total amount. So people are coming with thousands of and in fact, most bills like in Ida, I had damage, partial damage to the roof, 17, 20 shingles, and the back fence, half of the fence went down. Well, right away, I didn't even submit a claim because I know even submitting the claim goes against you even if they deny it. That is less than I think it's 4,000 my deductible. So I had to come out of cost with that. So this is what we're trying to help you all with. That use us as much as we can, mostly Derek, because he's the knowledgeable party in this situation, as the wonderful free advice that he's giving you. He's not going to be sending you a bill here, getting your name and address. We'll send your name. We'll put your name on the air if you like and mention your comments so we can answer the question. But this is all a benefit to you all. So sometimes it's worthwhile missing a little bit of the Saints losing section and or anything else that you normally do to pay attention to something that could help you. I'm doing a ranting here as usual because it is rant review. That's why I've got a megaphone but no picture. Again, all I can say is apologies. I'm on two other screens, but when I tried putting me up, they could not hear you. So I immediately disconnected it. So this way we just, like I said, as long as the people are hearing me, concert with discussion with you and they can see you and hear you, and you call in. And folks, here's a big favor. Why don't you call that number? I know we're asking a lot of you tonight. But dial 504. Listen, make sure you put that 504, even if you're in New Orleans now. We got to learn to use those that exchange 504-383-3654. I should have said it a long time ago, and I didn't. But and we will post, and I'm afraid to lose Derek, so I wanted to post several pictures we have, including all the different ways to contact him. But why don't we do this, Derek? We still got about 10 minutes. Why don't you go ahead and tell, since I'm afraid to bring up the screen that has all the, tell them how can they reach you right now. First, the phone number, if you don't mind sharing that. Secondarily, your social media account and or your email, however you want to do it. Take it one by one so the people will know how to get in touch with you so they want to ask a question during the day when they're not on air.
Yeah, so thank you, Bob. And I would just want you to know that your situation with respect to your insurance issue, it's not unlike any other millennial that's experiencing the same thing. And you raised the point about advertising and trying to make money off of people. I can assure you, I'm not rich. I'm just like the rest of you all. I wake up every morning and I try to provide as best I can for my family, keeping the lights on, food on the table, clothes on my family's backs. So I'm definitely not here to try to make money, but I'm here to try to make people's lives easier. Because again, financial pressure is real, especially in the city of New Orleans, because it seems like we're still dealing with the pandemic, and people are trying to find their way through the pandemic and hurricanes. So it's definitely not my motive. I don't think it's your motive to try to make money off of people, but we're just trying to help people navigate through tough times in life. And I didn't know about your situation, Bob, but like I said, your situation is not unlike a lot of New Orleans. We are in the fight, and we just need the tools for us. And I'm hoping that I can help, uh, uh, if only one person. And it looks like it's going to be Miss Major to help just get some relief and have a better quality of life. Because
Well, some of these things that Derek is telling you, all of it is true, but you'll see a lot more in the future. Just the work he's been doing for the community during Ida. And it's not just sitting back there and writing a check, sending it to a particular church or nonprofit. He's out there in the field day after day after day. And again, I don't want to give away that's going to be a great segment. It'll show you his level of intensity with regard to giving to his community, taking care of his community as opposed to just sulking them for money. Where's the next person I can get a few dollars from? So you'll see his direction, and that's it's meaningful to me. That's why I chose him, without the eloquence and knowledge, to do this because again, too many want to come on and do plague you with commercials and constantly relate how you can reach them so that they can help you with the problem, but of course charge you for that. But let's get in. You didn't answer, and I do want you to address at least some of the main, if not all of the ways that people can see you and or contact you. Let's start with, do you want care to give your phone number out? Can we do that first?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, absolutely. We got a lot of feedback on your end, Bob. And again, this is our first time doing this, so y'all please excuse the technical difficulties. They'll be ironed out eventually. But I can be reached at 504 bad debt. That's 504
504 223 3328.
That's
Is
right.
that right? Okay. We're hearing a lot of cracking noise. I'm sorry you're hearing that and or other things. I'm afraid the audience has also heard it. Just here, I'm hoping it's just a crackling noise, which we haven't been able to resolve. But anyway, and of course, if they're not watching you, you're on Facebook under Derek Russ. Is that right?
You can Google, not Google. Again, I'm new to all of this stuff. Social media, I'm one who tends to like to fade away.
It was it.
So if you do the search, it's under Derek Russ, DEREKRUSS.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, like I say, in the future, we will always end the last couple of minutes, have that post up for you, which lists all those so people can cut. I found him, I believe, was it on LinkedIn we first met, or was it in the Instagram? LinkedIn? And that's why I'm so tickled tonight that you were going to be the first LinkedIn Live so that people who follow you there, which I know you do have some, could watch. And unfortunately, that is the only destination that seems to be having a problem. And it's not just with me. LinkedIn Live is having a problem across the entire internet with regard to broadcasting live. So, not that I'm looking for excuses, but it makes me feel a little better, because the other technical problems are actually on my end, not on the streaming or not on the platform or destinations end. But again, we're real pleased to start it. We've got about 6 more minutes, but I don't want to, unless there's something else you really need to give out tonight. It'd be one of the few times we've ever done what I call a short show. We usually are religious about, I hate to use the word religious, conscientious about doing an hour program, starting exactly on the hour and finishing right at the end of the hour. But again, I know it's been tedious working for you as well as the audience with the technology. But anything else you want to tell them? My big question to you is, will you overlook this horrible situation and come back to us next Thursday night at 7 if you can? But for you, Derek.
So Bob, again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to first experience what it's like to be on the live show. Thank you, man. Uh, and secondly, I know we're going to work through the technical difficulties, but the most important thing is just to give some people relief. Uh, that seems to be my mission in life. Trying to help
Well,
people.
we're hoping that this technological problem is a one-time deal. As we said, the call-in is which we weren't able to try tonight because I've been asking people to call, but no one's done that. And I understand their reluctance, but that has been the big problem. As I prefaced the entire show, was that we had several shows, one that was on that required calls, and two others that were scheduled last year, but it was a totally bad situation. The software we're using didn't work. We have a new one, and at last result, we can buy a somewhat expensive piece of equipment, which we've been testing it out with different callers without being on a show, and it's working. So that's why we were thrilled tonight and thrilled about LinkedIn Live. But I don't know what's happened there. But again, if you're willing to try it again next week, let's set it up for 7 o'clock, and we'll do the promo again as we always do. twice, one today and then one tomorrow and one early like Tuesday of next week, a reminder. So that way, people can hopefully give us another shot. I have to admit, you have some, I'm sure it's your followers, but we have people still on Facebook, on, which, well, they're doing. My problem is, for those who don't know me, because I'm old and have a lot of medical problems, just as anyone else who might be old has some problems. My visual acuity is minimal because of some surgery I've had. So I cannot understand, what do you call them? Emojis? Is that what it's called? Emojis? The little. So people today talking emojis or whatever it's called. I can't tell other than color. Like I have a blue one with a hand. I know the blue thumb is supposed to be a good one. I can see a little blue thumb. I can see a red heart, a red back, and I can see a yellow one with one of those smiley faces, but it's got a tongue out. So I don't know if they're sticking and saying nasty things or good things. So that's my problem. I'm an old person. I gotta have English, unfortunately. A few other languages I could read, but being able to decipher and or really visually discern these emojis is totally lost on me. But not a young feather like Derek. And I'm hoping if any of these commenters are on his platforms, he can see who's being so nice to. And I'm going to just say they're all nice. I'm saying I'm misreading whatever that face is with what I think has a red tongue. It might be a happy tongue. I don't know. Anyway, but we're so glad to see two or three different platforms are still, the destinations are still maintaining our viewership, even through all this. That's amazing.
Gotta take what
That's
you gotta take, Bob, and make
that's all right. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're going to sign off. I didn't catch that last part. I apologize. I hope people heard it. But we'll be talking during the week. And folks, again, last time, apologies. But give us another shot. Please. Don't hold it against us. I know what that song was. I was just talking about. Don't hold it against us. Give us a shot. If it does again next week, then write us off. I understand. I would too. Okay, have a good evening. Hopefully the Saints are not miserable tonight. Let's hope for that. When we get off, we can check it out. All right, Derek, take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, good night,
All
everybody.
righty. Bye. All right, folks, we're going. Take care. See you soon, I hope.